Hey, a real quick aside before we get started this time, based on a surprise message that I got today. Somebody sent me a Reddit message, not regarding this podcast actually, but it was about my original Ironsworn Western Frontier series that I did like 10 years ago, something like that. Apparently they're watching through it, and I don't know, it just reminded me that if you've gotten this far in the podcast, you seem to at least vaguely like the way I run this game. If you want to see me running it as way more of a noob, it's over on my YouTube. I've got the link down below in the episode description. This is the Ironsworn Western Frontier. This was like some of the first time I was ever playing Ironsworn back in the day, and it was in a weird West setting. So anyway, if you're just itching for that next episode and I haven't released one yet, well, there are some old episodes over on my YouTube, so just a reminder. Anyway, on with this show. Stranded in space on a ship crashing into the atmosphere of an unknown planet, Emile Spencer knew that the only way to survive would be by his own wits and guile. He vowed that somehow he would find and slay the titanic cosmic beast that put him in this predicament, VY572. With every installment, we follow Emile's explorations and discoveries on this journey of revenge against all odds. I'm Midnight Jester, and this is the Left Behind Starforge series. Last time was the kitchen episode, apparently. It's a great example of how you never really know exactly what an episode is going to be about, no matter how much you think in advance, like, okay, maybe I'll start off like this and do this. Considering the kitchen itself was generated through just some random rolls during the session, and everything basically wound up tying back to it, you never really know what it's going to be like. Anyhow, we started off the session with Magpie starting to form a bit of a coalition through convincing Vert to be an ally, and this is part of the long-form process where Magpie is looking to kind of take over this place. It's one of the 3 clocks that we made. That one is a campaign clock, so it's going to advance slowly, but over time, Magpie is eventually going to be amassing allies to be able to take over and eventually be the leader of Concord unless something stops this. Otherwise, we had a couple of other tension clocks that didn't wind up advancing that are just potentially going to happen this time, just the results of when things go wrong and take too much time. It's going to be closer and closer to when the Wooden Hearts fleet arrives, a little bit closer to when the Imperium's fleet arrives. But we spent last time doing preparation stuff. You know, we're starting to finally look at how is Emile going to take on this big project. And with Cypher's help, Emile was able to coordinate kind of just the physical labor part of it, of all the people that were shuttling back and forth, just doing digging to just make as much of this like canal sort of system that the lava is going to flow into. Once they're draining it, get that dug out as much as possible in the areas that are far from the lava so that eventually when Emile has the like drill ready, they can actually get into the lava area and divert that flow and everything. And so the rest of the episode was about Emile doing that. He had to find out where the old broken down version of this digger that they used to carve out Concord itself, where was that in the junk pile? He was able to decipher Magpie's system and figure out it's probably over here. He devised a system to find it, and in that process also fixed up an old broken down robot that was in the fixery named Buzzard. Buzzard is still looking a little bit worse for wear, not completely fixed. In fact, can't use one of its arms, but it's still a good help in sorting through these kinds of heavy pieces of junk and everything like that. The last moment where we left off was when Magpie actually came back and sabotaged the claw that Emile was going to use. He had found the actual digging implement that he needed to just remove from the pile, put it onto a skiff so that he could take it over to the fixery and start working on getting it fixed up. Magpie saw what was going on and removed a key component that's very particular from the controls of the system that operates the claw so that you can pick stuff up. It's completely inoperable right now. And so Emile and Buzzard are left unable to use that to get it onto the skiff. And we left off with that lingering question of how were they going to do it? Are they going to just carry it directly? Are they going to find a way to fix up that claw? Let's jump back in and find out. Though I suppose before we do have a campaign clock, that Magpie one I was just talking about. This is the beginning of a new session, and we need to find out if that clock advances.
Last time I considered it unlikely that it would, because we still haven't advanced that much time. Like, Magpie hasn't had a lot of time to start amassing allies, and I think that's still the case. If anything, I almost consider downgrading it to small chance, but just because it's indeed been so little, like, in-universe time since the last ally he got. Yeah, I think I am going to go with that, because last time we rolled it had represented a little bit more of a chunk of time, and now it's just been, like, he, like, just recruited Vert. I think I want this to be a little bit more of a long-form thing. So I'm going to downgrade this to small chance this time, since we were really moment-to-moment for a little while. And we know Magpie was busy working with the situation of the sabotage kitchen and all of that. Like, he hasn't had a lot of opportunity to make allies. So small chance, and it goes... no. And that would have been no on unlikely as well. 50-50, it actually would have been a yes, but there was no way I was going up to 50-50. It occurs to me, I guess in the recap, I skipped that we did the kitchen sabotage with the help of the new character, Zephyr. But anyway, go back to the last episode if you want more details on that scene. Let's get back into the action. So we're not advancing that campaign clock, and we come back to Emile and Buzzard having realized that the claw is inoperable. And we described last time that the piece that was missing was, like, very particular. You know, it's very unlikely to find... It's not like a generic component you could find in just other junk. Like, it's something that would have to be very manufactured for this device. But it does occur to me, we have a connection. Firestarter. And Firestarter is good at... we described it as, like, he's a good machinist. You know, he can follow a schematic to make very precise equipment, like forming it out of metal. He's good at following schematics, whereas Emile is good at just, like, ad hocing things together a little bit more. And so it occurs to me that maybe, if we're willing to take a little bit more time, rather than just try to lift this thing up, maybe there's an opportunity to connect with Firestarter a little bit more. He is a connection, and while he's a little bit more of a tenuous one, we could probably convince him to, we could find a schematic for this thing and get him to work on that in the background while we maybe do something else. So let's go that route. Now, in order to do that, we are going to have to find a schematic, because again, he needs to follow directions. So Emile is going to... I'm not going to make a roll out of this, but he's going to take the moment to, mark down the model number and everything like that of the... Oh, I guess you know what? What Emile needs to do, he doesn't really know why this isn't working yet. Magpie knows, but Emile doesn't just inherently know what's missing. So why don't we start this off with Emile figuring that out? He's going to need to gather some information here of what's going wrong, because he knows it was just working. Because we are indeed analyzing evidence here. He's there with tools, like taking apart a panel, trying to get down to, like, why isn't this thing operating? His AR is working again, so his computer is able to help him a little bit and really, like, highlight where missing components are or trace how it's supposed to be working. So this should be relatively simple for him. It's going to be a wits roll. I don't think this would qualify for any of my assets. It's kind of bordering on that territory, but he's not crafting, repairing, repurposing, or modifying equipment. He's just analyzing it. So it's not really a gearhead thing. Let's just make this wits roll. We still have our 10 momentum. We never had to burn it last time, so feeling pretty good. And we get... Ooh, starting this off with a strong hit with a match without even having to burn momentum. Just a double 3 match, nothing too good, but, like, clearly he's going to know what's going on. So you discover something helpful and specific, the path you must follow or action. Like, in this case, it's really clear. Like, Emile, we already know the answer of what Emile's finding out. He's able to determine that the component is missing. And I think a double 3 match is indeed fitting for, in that process, without having to do anything else, Emile is able to indeed, from the repository that he already has on his computer, like the most up-to-date information of all these different kind of pieces of equipment and stuff, he was able, like, the missing space with the component was highlighted. His computer was able to help him figure out this kind of component should be there, and it all hyperlinked back to this schematic from elsewhere on his computer. He's able to pull it up. Like, the match is just, he has that ready. He will be able to show that schematic to Firestarter so that he can get working on it. So let's head over to there. We go back to the fixery, and let's see. I'm just going to give it I'm going to say it's likely that Firestarter is there, just because that is his day job. He is there most of the time. So is he? Yes. Yes, he is. Would have even been there on 50-50. So Firestarter is around and probably in the middle of working on... He's probably in the middle of working on the last project we know that he was working on, the attempt to try and fix the cafeteria thing. The chaos crystal containment system that would use that energy to be able to generate food. I'm actually going to roll another Ask the Oracle on that to see, if he has made... if he is finished with that, if he's made significant progress. I'm going to say it's unlikely. It's a very complicated... even though he has the right components now, it's complicated. So I think it's unlikely that he has finished it. Let's see. Has he? No. He has not. Though, man, that actually... It's just barely a no on that. That would have changed had I made it any more likely. But he is not. So he's still tinkering away on that. And it's a major project. So I see this as having, because it is such a dangerous thing, I imagine he's got a section of the workshop so cordoned off with thick sheets of, maybe we'll go with the classic here, just thick sheets of lead or something in the way that are, maybe they'd be effective, maybe they wouldn't be. They probably wouldn't be, but it's more the thickness that's protecting in case anything goes wrong. And maybe he has a classic, I'm curious, do they have, we described there were there robot arms and stuff in here that he could use to do from afar? I'm not interested in that, in the answer to that being no. Let's just say yes. So he's behind it. There's, he's got a video feed up on a screen to the side that he's looking off at. He's got sort of a couple of joysticks with some buttons that he's using to remote control these robotic arms to do the type of work from afar. That's maybe part of the reason why he's not finished, is he's being very cautious about all of this. And it's all the way on the far end of the fixery, away from the door. And I think Emile even startles him when he first says something. He tries to wait for a good moment, but still it's hey, Firestarter. And there's a jerk of the joystick. And, nothing in particular. I'm not going to make this a chance that anything bad actually happens as a result of that. But he certainly grumbles about it. And it's just the hell are you doing, Spencer? You know what I was in the middle of there? Tweaking the housing. If there had been even the tiniest seam. And he's huffing and going on. He's really releasing steam about all of this. Clearly he's been under tension working on this. And Emile just goes, hey, whoa. It's fine. I'm sorry. It didn't happen. You seem like you might need a break from that. You... Don't take this the wrong way, but you seem kind of tense. You're goddamn right I'm tense. What I'm working on is... I know. It's chaos crystal stuff. Believe me, I've been in your position very recently. It's terrifying. You've been nose to the grindstone on that for a long time. How'd you like something a little bit simpler? A little bit more close to home? Spencer, this is one of Concord's top priorities. We're talking about the food supply here. I mean, the kitchen is running ragged trying to keep up. I know what's going on, and I believe you have heard the message that Valkyrie said, when I ask for something, it's important. And I'm asking for something. It's important. Emile displays the schematics that he pulls up. How'd you like to take a break and start working on machining that for me? For some reason, it seems to be utterly missing from the claw gantry over in the junk pile. And I think Emile automatically understands, he knows it was working before. He knows it wouldn't have been working without that piece in there. He's got a pretty strong idea that either Magpie or somebody somebody working with Magpie went in there and sabotaged it. It's the only thing that makes sense. And they both kind of are seeing what each other is doing. Emile doesn't bother mentioning any of that, but he's it somehow has gone missing. We need to replace it. And well, from what I can tell, this is right up your alley. You're way more precise at this sort of thing than I am, so what do you think? Can you work this up for me? We're going to make this a compel move, because I think there are reasons for Firestarter to be good with it and reasons for him not to be. Because after all, what he is working on with the Chaos Crystal is indeed very important for the whole colony. And it also would help, they need the food supply when they're doing this much physical labor and everything. It would be really nice if they didn't have to throw out so many just faulty creations, like we talked about last time, how because they don't have quite the power of the Chaos Crystal, some of them just come out wrong. So it's an important thing that he was working on. It's also, he's in the zone on it. kind of. I mean, he's really stressed out about it, but he doesn't really want to be just like leaving it behind right away. But at the same time, what Emile said is true. Like, Valkyrie did give the word to do things when Emile asked for them. And Emile's asking for it, and much as Firestarter might not want to walk away from what he's doing, he's also not exactly wanting to shy away from the opportunity to take a break from something this stressful. So I think this definitely falls into the heart situation. If Emile had leaned a lot harder into, like, hey, you do this because I'm in charge around here, that could have been an iron move. He, like, mentioned it, but it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just kind of a tiny piece of the argument where he's mostly trying to be like, hey, take a break. Do this thing. It would also be helpful. So let's roll heart. Okay. Wow, this is a miss. It was almost a double 10 miss. I rolled a 10 and a 9, and so I could burn all my momentum just to turn it into a weak hit. Otherwise, it's going to be a miss. So they'll refuse or make a demand that costs me greatly, and I'd have to pay the price. God, I'm kind of torn on this, because on the one hand, I feel almost guilty carrying around this much momentum when I feel like it's momentum from like a different moment, really. It's not really... We built this up for stuff that's not really relevant right now. So it almost feels more right to be starting from scratch again. At the same time, it doesn't feel wonderful to have to burn 10 momentum just to get a weak hit. But on yet another hand, if we don't have to pay a price, we don't have to up any of the clocks. And right now, like, we really are not ready for the fleet to arrive. And I could easily see paying the price being about how long this would take him to do it, because he'd be like trying to find any reason not to, or I don't know, possibly in order to not have to fully think it out. It hurts, but I am going to burn the momentum. We're going to make this into a weak hit. So now there's just going to be a demand or a complication. He'll do it. We will get 1 momentum back when this is all done. So what is the complication here? Oh, I know. So the complication is that when Emile has access to the claw again, there's something that Firestarter also needs from the pile. And so, like, he'll do it if Emile, when he gets the claw working again, secures this other thing. We're going to find out what that is with some Oracle rolls. So let's do this sounds prime for a descriptor and focus. What does he need? I've gotten diverse technology. Well, the word technology is not the most helpful for me right now when it's a whole pile of junk. But let me think here. Diverse technology. What does that make me think of? So diverse technology, it makes me think of like something that can do a lot of things. Like a multi-tool of some kind. Like, you know, your sonic screwdriver, or, you know, Swiss army knife or whatever. I think Firestarter figures that it's got to be one of those somewhere in the junk pile. And why this is a problem is because, like, he's talking about something that's like handheld in a pile that's like, you know, this is like a municipal dump. Like, this thing is huge. You're looking for basically a needle in a haystack here. At least when Emile was looking for something, it was large enough. He had some clues on what to look for. This is something that could be just like anywhere in there. But he knows there's got to be one around there somewhere, probably multiples, but just somewhere in there he needs one, and it could really help him out around the shop. Even if it's broken, he could at least get it fixed up. And, you know, it's in the junk pile, so it's probably going to be broken, but he could really use one of those. I suppose we could check our gear, and Emile might just have one. It sounds like with the gearhead that he is, there's a chance he might just have this sort of thing. So I'm going to give myself that opportunity to. I'm going to give myself the +1 momentum, as we know now, like, what our complication is. Like, you got to find one of these as kind of payment. There's still a very transactional relationship, you see. Okay, if I check my gear, there is a chance that I get a miss here, and I'd have to pay the price. So I don't know if that's worth it. My supply is really low right now. We have a strong chance of that being a miss, especially without the momentum to fall back on anymore. So you know what? I'm not going to try and see if Emile has it. We're just going to assume the problem is he needs to find it in the junk pile. So I'm going to do that part first. Emile is going to try and find this, because it's not like the claw would help him with it anyway. And then we're going to go back and we're going to make the roll to see like how well Firestarter was able to manufacture this part. We're going to do that afterwards as if he's basically helping Emile do it. So we're going to get his bonus when the time comes. Anyhow, Emile needs to try and scavenge for this thing, and thankfully that's what he's good at. So we're going to do this really quickly. I suppose we're resupplying, looking for a specific thing. And we are indeed functionally scavenging a wreck, ruined, or abandoned site. So we're going to get to add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. So let's do this. We are looking for a specific thing. We are scavenging. This is a wits move with a +1. Ooh, another strong hit with a match. This time a double 7 match. Okay, so not only do we definitely find it, because that's one of the options on just a strong hit. We're in need of a specific item. We can acquire it, and we get to take +1 momentum. So we actually get to have 2 momentum out of this because we have 1 from the move and 1 because we're a scavenger. And then in addition, because it's not a weak hit, we don't have any kind of cost or obstacle to it. But a double 7 match, we should definitely find something else in here that's really cool. Again, I might want to just roll a descriptor and focus to get an idea of what kind of thing do we find in the junk pile that on a double 7 I think is actually going to be thrown out mistakenly. It's fully functional, whatever this is. Okay, let's roll descriptor and focus. I suppose the easier route would also be I could just up my supply and basically give myself the ability to take both halves of the move where I not only get the specific item but also bring my supply up. But I like the idea of finding something specific here. Some new cool tool. So descriptor and focus this time gives us fragile crossing. Okay, so fragile suggests to me that this is a one-time use thing. Not that it's not literally fragile in the sense that it as an object is not literally fragile. I'm not going to go with that. Fragile to me is indeed just that it's only designed, it's not this is more like a grenade than a grenade launcher functionally. It's not going to be an explosive thing necessarily, but this is a resource, not an item, I suppose is the way to say it. But he finds one and it is fully functional. What kind of crossing should this be? We know that over in the Room of the Lost, there's that one room where it's full of cryopods, and there was that dude in there that has a ghost vapor inhalant where if you breathe it in, you can become ethereal and cross over the place. It could be something like that. Maybe even a second one of those that somehow just ran in here, fell in here with something else. Maybe it was inside of a container that got thrown out or something. In whatever toolbox that Emile found that looked really junky, but actually had this multi-tool inside. The tool itself that he was looking for is going to be broken. That's not what the match is going to be. That still needs fixing up. But also in this container was this crossing thing. And I do like that idea, where this is some kind of it's a phase shifter, where I think it operates under different principles. It's not literally the ghost vapor thing. This works under different principles. This is a one-time thing where you it's this disc that you slap onto your chest and it sticks there. They call it a phase modulator, where it vibrates you at it vibrates all your molecules at this weird different frequency that will allow you to just off and on sever some of the ties between the molecules in your body to allow you to just phase shift through walls and stuff when you choose. Because because of all the empty space in between atoms, you're doing a flash thing in here basically. You vibrate your atoms so that you can actually just pass through barriers. It doesn't last long, but it would indeed allow you to just kind of pass through solid objects for a brief amount of time as a one-time use thing. Emile finds one of these, and by his analysis, it actually is still fully functional. Doesn't know why it got thrown out. It was just some kind of mistake. This is not junk, and he definitely pockets that away as oh shit, you never know when something like that could be useful. But anyway, he brings back the thing that Firestarter was asking for, pays that all, and we're all squared up. So let's make the actual move to manufacture the thing that we need. So this is indeed making use of our gearhead move. We are crafting equipment or technology. So we'll get a +1 from the gearhead and 1 momentum on a hit. We will get a +1 from the fact that our connection is helping us out with this. Firestarter is doing the thing that's right there along with what he does best. So that's a +2 to this wits roll. Let's do it. And the reason this is going to be a face danger move is because, one, this workshop itself we've described as kind of a shithole where things are always going wrong and there's caustic things dripping in places. There's a lot that you can hurt yourself in a lot of ways with just this stuff not working right in this workshop. And also, we do, of course, still have that Chaos Crystal in the corner. Like, there's all kind of reasons why working in here right now could be dangerous. So, wits with a +2. All right, we get a weak hit. And not able to improve that with momentum. That does mean that we succeed, but not without a cost. So we make a suffer move -1. Now, I could, we're not full on paying the price. I could just basically counteract some of the momentum gain that I'm getting. You know, the gearhead gives me +1 momentum on a hit. We could just lose that out, where it takes us a little bit of time. And in order to keep things moving, I'm just going to do that. So we're not going to gain any momentum on this, but we do make it. We have the thing. It's ready to slot back in. It took a little time to do this, but, you know, time well spent, probably. Especially because now that Emile has made this, like, it's his. Like, he can just take this with him. He's not going to leave it behind for Magpie to necessarily, like, fuck with or anything like that. He'll have his own vital component to this thing, just in case it ever comes up again. Now, if I wanted to develop my relationship with Firestarter, you know, one of the things is giving them something of worth. I don't think the multi-tool is worth it. Like, yeah, he wanted it, but that was part of just a pay the price that I had to do. Like, that's just part of our arrangement, and it's also still a broken thing. It's not that valuable. It's not worthy of developing our relationship. Now, if Emile surprised him by giving him the phase shifter, now, that would certainly be worth it. Oh, that being said, though, Emile has gotten Buzzard working again, and Buzzard was basically a shop assistant. Buzzard helps work things around here, and Buzzard's whole purpose to begin with was working with the Chaos Crystal. He's only got the one working arm now, but if Emile gifted Buzzard back, be like, hey, look, I got a surprise for you. Yeah, let's do that. I want to develop this relationship. So when Emile was going back and forth, I think he left Buzzard at the junk pile just to, like, keep an eye on the part so that nothing happened to it while they were waiting. So Firestarter doesn't actually know that Buzzard is operational again. But when we're done with this, Emile's we're gonna do this. Okay, so one step at a time. Emile takes the part. He gets the claw operational again. That shouldn't really be a problem. It's well within his moveset. I'm not gonna make a move out of that. And in fact, since it's operational again, yeah, I think it's still worthy of one face danger move because we are still shifting the stack and everything. Yeah, let's do one. This is going to be functionally an agility roll because it's about getting that claw, use the claw machine just right to pull this out without disrupting the pile in a way that's going to be a problem. Now, if this goes wrong, Emile himself is not in danger. Like, he's at the controls far away. Nothing's going to happen to him, but stuff could happen that, like, buries the skiff. Like, there are still ways that this could be a real problem. So let's do this with edge. Is there any kind of advantage I want to secure first on this? I mean, I guess I could try to have Buzzard, like, working to just, like be by the pile, making sure that if things are moving around, he can, like, stabilize them. Yeah, let's do that. So now Buzzard also might get buried if this pile actually does shift. So we're going to command Buzzard first to just, like, give the orders to stick around, make sure the pile doesn't shift while I do this. If things start shifting around, like, look out for them and secure them in the process. So you can be my close hands while I'm using the big iron claw. So we're going to make a heart move to issue that command appropriately. And that is a miss, and I am glad this is on the secure and advantage and not on the face danger, because there's nothing I can do about it. The momentum can't help me here. So you fail, your assumptions betray you, pay the price. Now again, this was on the secure and advantage, not on the actual using the claw. So the command fails, and we do have to pay the price on this. I wonder if there's some kind of latent programming inside of Buzzard that Emile wasn't aware of, or some manner of, it could be interesting. We talked about how Buzzard got mutated by working with a Chaos Crystal, and it got kind of melty and weird. What if that also gave them, like, a little tiny developing taste of sentience and self-preservation as a result? And so when Emile issues this command very flippantly, thinking like, oh yeah, whatever, this is just a machine. It doesn't matter. Nobody's feelings are going to get hurt. If it does get buried, whatever. Maybe Buzzard actually sees themselves now and sees the danger in this, that we're literally about to face danger, and refuses. And that's never happened before. Like, with this kind of robot, like, they're not smart enough to refuse. They're really only barely an artificial intelligence. They don't have, typically, agency or the ability to refuse a command. Not without it being some kind of error or something. Now, I still need to figure out how this is a full-on pay the price. God, should I up the tension class? I guess that's the easiest way, is just, it's less that this takes so much time and more that it's the culmination of all this time finally adding up. So I'm going to fill in the first clock segment on the arrival of the fleet. And that's for both of them, because this would affect them both equally. And then in addition to that, Buzzard is not willing to do the task. And I think for the moment, Emile is just, like, he's not spending enough time to really figure out and understand, like, oh, this is full-on sentience. He just thinks this is, like, buggy behavior. But somewhere in the back of his mind, he does recognize it's really weird that this robot said no. Like, that's not the way it usually works. But he puts it off for now because he's got other things to focus on. We're just going to go into... He's going to do the claw move without the help of... without Buzzard's help securing things. Buzzard is going to be standing there next to him, like, staring the whole time. It's a little bit unnerving because somehow this inanimate piece of steel has a real judgmental expression. He doesn't know why, but he can feel it. Anyway, let's do that face danger move. This is indeed with edge. Hopefully it goes better. Okay, we get a weak hit. So it's same as before. We just have to make a minor suffer move, but we do succeed. So we're able to use the claw. We're able to get the old digging chassis onto the skiff. -1 though. What should I lose? It would be really easy to again just lose momentum, go from 5 down to 4 out of just, particularly without the help of Buzzard. We have to be really slow and careful with this. It just takes us some time. It wouldn't make sense for me to lose health. As we described, we're really far away. I don't think there's anything about this that would be especially dispiriting, nor can I really justify why I would go down to 0 supply from this. Yeah, I think it's just lose some momentum. It's simple. But we have it on the skiff. We have this really crucial piece of what we're looking for this project, and that means a couple of things that I don't want to get lost in the bookkeeping. First is I think that's worthy of making progress on the salvaging the Reacher from the magma. Like, this is a key part of it. It's not working yet, but it's going to get us there. So that's half a box of progress right there. In addition, because this is part of my long-term engineering project that's extreme or greater, when I obtain a crucial part or resource, I get to mark progress on the quest and take +2 momentum. So I'm going to get my momentum up to 2. I guess I need to think, like, I gave myself... Is this a second progress on the quest? Because I think it's worthy of a... I did think it was worthy of a milestone, but I'm kind of double dipping if I do it twice. Like, the asset is giving me that. So no, I'm just going to do that the once. I'm not going to give myself yet another mark of progress on it. It's already accommodated in here. And the last part of this move is when I devote extended time to the project in my workshop, I get some bonuses and stuff. And I think that's honestly what's coming next. Because that's by far the next part of this project. I mean, after this brief scene where I'm going to be like, hey, I offer you this droid. So we have the skiff loaded up. Emile's going to remove the manufactured part from the Iron Claw again. Though I think, he should, is he going to be petty enough to, like, bury the claw under some wreckage first? No, if only because I think that would be another move just to do that well. And he's not that concerned with doing it. So he removes his piece so that the claw is no longer functional, but Magpie should be able to fix it again with, the part that he just removed himself. They go back over to the fixery. Emile's going to take Buzzard back to the fixery, though, honestly, if Buzzard has developed this kind of sentience, at least in a proto form, if he knows how to refuse orders now, does he have a problem going back to the fixery? Does he want to follow Emile? I'm going to just ask I'm not going to make a compel move out of this. I'm just going to ask the Oracle. I'm going to leave it at likely that he'll follow this order because there's nothing about it that's inherently dangerous. Like, yeah, the workshop is kind of dangerous, but not on the same level. It's not as imminent of a threat. So it's likely that he'll follow the order, and the Oracle says, yes, he will. Oh, barely. So unlikely, 1 to 75 is a yes. I rolled a 75. So he barely follows that order, but he does. There's maybe even that moment of hesitation where Buzzard is actually considering all those factors of if the workshop is dangerous enough, and Buzzard determines that much is fine. He can at least accompany along. It is at least the home that he knows. So Buzzard comes along with Emile, and Emile, still not knowing that anything is up with Buzzard in particular, just because his mind is on other things. And when he gets back, he says he checks in with Firestarter, who is back working on the the Chaos Crystal. And Emile brings this skiff in. They open up the garage style door, clear out some room, bring the skiff inside, and then Emile, he needs help offloading the digger from the skiff. And so he calls out to Firestarter to ask for a little bit of help on that. And in the process, he says, yeah, I could really use a third pair of hands. And Firestarter goes, third set? The hell are you talking about? And Emile says back to him, well, got a little bit of a surprise for you. When I was working in here earlier, I saw that he had a malfunctioning T-47 unit. And I think it's only then that Firestarter realizes that it's missing. Because, this place is cluttered and full of all kinds of crap. It's easy to miss. Wait, shit, where's Buzzard? Well, Buzzard went off with me because I got Buzzard working for you again. Here, I figure once he's done helping us offload this, that this would be really vital for using with the your Chaos Crystal work over there. And I think Buzzard in particular, knowing that, God, Buzzard's probably got some complicated feelings about Chaos Crystals, because on the one hand, the Chaos Crystal is what deformed Buzzard, but on the other hand, if Buzzard is aware, the crystal is what has basically given him this first little bit of real intelligence. I don't know how Buzzard feels about that. Not relevant just yet, but Firestarter is definitely going to be cool with this whole, oh my god, that's exactly what Buzzard was meant for. This is perfect. This is a fantastic gift. We're definitely going to develop our connection with him. But the lingering question is, will Buzzard submit to this kind of work again? I'm again going to ask the Oracle on this, because Emile is not going to directly order him to. So the question for the Oracle is, I'm leaving it at 50-50, because indeed, it might turn out that Buzzard actually values the sentience that it gained from the Chaos Crystal, but it's definitely a dangerous thing. So the odds are 50-50, and the question is, will Buzzard be okay working with the Chaos Crystal? Will Buzzard accept that order? Yes. Oh, and I rolled a 9 on that, so that would have been yes on small chance. So very clearly, I think it's, that Buzzard actually has more positive feelings about the Chaos Crystal than negative, which may be its own problem coming down the line, but we won't worry about that for now. In the moment anyway, what matters is that Buzzard will do the job. So they work together, they get this off the skiff. I think with all three of them working together, and particularly one of them being a robot, and having all kinds of tools and stuff in here that are probably set up for moving heavy machinery, I'm not going to make a move out of it. I think there are ways to get it done that are just designed for the task. He's got a lot of help. It's fine. Gets it off into a cordoned area. Buzzard moves to begin helping Firestarter off in the corner, working with the Chaos Crystal. Before I forget, I'm just going to develop my relationship with Firestarter, because I've given him something of value. So that gives him 2 boxes of progress on that connection route. 2 boxes of progress towards making Firestarter a full-on bond. We're not there yet. But now Emile has a lot of time. We're going to zoom out again, because this is going to be a kind of day after day, maybe over a week kind of progress of Emile is just working in here at his station, trying to get the digger to be fully functional. This is key to the project. If this doesn't work, they're going to have to pivot and find another way to make a pump system or somehow get the lava out of there. But if this thing can work, it can be modified potentially to have just fully sealed. He needs to not only get this thing working again, but make the cabin of it fully sealed and able to be submersed in lava without that being a problem. There'll be no leaks, all kinds of important stuff like that, so that a driver could just tunnel through and survive the heat and all of that and have enough oxygen, all these problems. And specifically, because we are devoting extended time to the project in our workshop, we face danger and we add a +1. And on a hit, we get to mark progress. If we somehow get a strong hit with a match, we get to mark progress twice. So, facing danger, this is still a wits move. There's a +1 from our workshop. We're kind of repurposing and repairing technology all at once, so our gearhead is also helping us on this, so that's a +2. And we'll get +1 momentum on a hit. This one is just taking place over a long period of time. So wits with a +2. What do we got here? Okay, it's only a weak hit because one of the challenge dice was a 9, and that matches my action score. So we don't get a strong hit, and certainly not a strong hit with a match, but it's still a hit, which means we do still get to mark progress on the vow, but we are going to have to make a suffer move. And I think the one that makes the most sense on here is honestly, maybe it could take up all of our supply to do it. Because there's going to be getting this actually sealed is going to take a lot of individual component. Like it uses up a lot of equipment. And I like the idea that, Concord not having a lot of stuff to go around, like we're putting it all into this project. And specifically this part of it. So I'm going to diminish my supply down to 0. And so as a result, we are unprepared. Our momentum can now max out at 9 and it gets reset to +1. And that's going to be the case until we have an opportunity to clear that impact. Now, because of the nature of it, I'm saying now that I am not going to allow myself to clear that impact just by scavenging in the junk pile. That's not good enough. This is taking into account the things from the junk pile. The types of things that we're missing that represent supply in general, we're not going to be able to find them there. They would need to come from a different source, like maybe back on the Reacher or something like that. But I can't just keep scavenging from that pile. Even though there's a lot left there, a lot of it is just kind of raw metal. And that only helps so much for the types of things that we need. This also just takes time, and maybe that's somewhat represents our food supply. Because the kitchen has been trying to keep up, but we've had to go through a lot of things, and maybe Firestarter and now Buzzard are still they're working on this crystal, but they're not done with it. And so maybe if we got that working again, that would help starting to allow supply to go back up. But we're fully unprepared. We had to use the last of our major resources to do this. But, as noted, we got a hit, so I do get to mark progress on this vow. So we're now up to 2 full boxes on salvaging the Reacher from the magma. Hey, that's something. Oh, and my momentum. I get the +1 momentum on a hit because of our gearhead asset. So we're all the way up to 7 momentum now, which is pretty good. So now the important bit is about actually driving this. We need to finally operate this and get it into the magma. We need to channel it out there. Actually, you know what? Okay. I don't want this to be too quick and easy. Because it was just occurring to me, if this thing is fully operational and fully sealed against the magma and all these things, what really is there left to do other than just tunnel it? And we're not anywhere near close to doing that. This is an extreme vow. This needs to be one component at a time. So I think he has the digging implement. It takes him a lot of time. He gets it operational in the sense that, the drill can move. He had to use all the supply to do that, but the drill can spin, but it's not on, the vehicle that it's on is not fully formed. It's not mobile, and it's definitely not sealed against lava. This thing is like an open housing right now. It's like sitting in a go-kart. Clearly couldn't take this in the lava. We just have one part of it done. That makes a lot more sense. That's why we still have so far to go on it. So next up, we need to solve other problems with it. We need to be able to, I guess, next most important is getting it sealed against the lava. Because if at worst it couldn't move, maybe we could figure out some kind of system to we could carry it there and then fire it into where it needs to go. There are solutions potentially, but if it can't hold up against the lava, then it can't. I mean, that's a problem in its own right. Now, so we need to be able to develop a kind of coating for it. We need the outside body of this to be able to be heat-proof to those kind of tolerances and fully sealed, in a way that when it needs to be openable so you can get inside and pilot it. Or maybe we need to make this so it can be piloted remotely. Maybe that's the safer route here. Okay. Or we can do both. If we want this to be as good as possible, have both options be on the table. So what does Emile want to do first? Let's find out how to flame-proof this thing. Or how to magma-proof this thing. Because if nothing else, even if we are piloting this remotely, the unit that's actually remote controlling it needs to be able to withstand the lava. So it needs to be kept safe from that. So no matter what, either option, we're going to need that. So we need to find a material that can do that. I'm thinking about how maybe... So we could certainly use this with just a thick enough stone. Like, if we were able to make a housing out of just like a thick body of the rock that like surrounds the magma, it wouldn't last forever, but it's at least like heat tolerant. It would just have to be thick enough, and you'd have to do the calculations right and have to have a lot of faith in it. So I think that next move is indeed, why don't we do some gather information, as we need to do some research. We need to analyze all kinds of papers and stuff. We need to find out, like, what could we use that would last long enough? You know, what kind of material is available on this planet? This is not only Emile going through his computer, it's also probably going out and taking surveys. Like, he is sometimes going out to the site of the Reacher to take samples of rock and examine properties of them. You're taking core samples. It is testing things, dropping them in the lava and like pulling them back out. It's a lot of analysis to find out like what kind of timings would work. What do we have available? What are the various minerals and everything that could potentially be mined? What even has been cleared away through all the digging process? It's a long form thing. So this is going to be a wits roll as he does all this stuff over like a montage, going out and about. I don't think we have anything in particular to secure an advantage about here. Let's just roll the wits. All right, we get a strong hit on its own. You discover something helpful and specific. The path you must follow or action you must take to make progress is made clear. Envision what you learn, then take +2 momentum, which would max us out on momentum. So I think, indeed, with this being a strong hit, the helpful and specific thing, it's what I was just thinking about. Like, we've determined the thickness that would be necessary from, like, the rock that extends kind of on the periphery of the magma bed near the Reacher. We also determined that it extends far enough to be able to, like, there's none in just what's being dug away by the people that are doing that, digging the channel on the outside through the ash. That's not going to be good enough. But inside the cave where the Reacher is, we've got this sort of, we've got an area that we could devote people towards, like, mining that ore, mining these big chunks of rock, and then bringing them back so that we can start shaping them and making the right kind of housing pieces, things like that. And we can do it far enough away from the magma to not immediately be in danger of it. We find like a lot of that cave has some of this same mineral. And as we do our tests in the lava, we find out that, let's find out exactly how long it could be submerged. Because I want a time limit on that. I don't think it should be heat proof, just resistant. We're going to do this as my classic. We're going to ask the Oracle, and we're going to keep making longer and longer periods of time. So I think it is almost certain that this material could survive in there for 5 minutes. Yes. It is likely that this could be submerged on the order of like 30 minutes. Yes. It is about a 50-50 that it could be under the lava for like 2 hours. No. Okay, so somewhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours, like we can maybe push it to like an hour, maybe. It depends on a lot of different variables that are hard to determine, and exactly how thick we're able to go. Because this isn't necessarily saying that the vehicle could be under there for an hour or 30 minutes, just that this material, when fully submerged, could survive that long. But that may require a thickness that's untenable for making this thing move. So, like, we're still not sure, but we know that we have an upper limit of could probably survive when keeping the appropriate integrity and not having anything catastrophic happen. Because this is, the 30 minutes is with a little bit of a margin of error. Like, this is when it starts really deforming, and you'd start having to worry about the body still actually keeping the magma out. So we know that we have somewhere between like a half hour to maybe an hour if we're really pushing it under the lava. And that's a decent amount of time. You could get some work done in like little shifts. So all right, let me give myself the momentum. We're all the way up at 9. We do need to secure the materials though. And I think that's going to be another one of those moves where we need Cypher's help to come up with a new plan. Like, this is now, we're completely shifting up the schedule here. Like, there's still a lot of digging to be done, but now we need to reorganize so that, like, who is digging versus who is mining and taking that back. It's a whole new production line process that needs to be accounted for. That, again, Emile is just going to turn to Cypher's help for this as we come up with a plan and implement it. Just like last time, I'm going to go straight to the face danger on this. where we are just implementing our plan. We're not testing it out. We don't have time to test it out or anything like that. We are going to get Cypher's help, so we have a +1 on this as we make a heart roll to implement. Here's the new plan, the new production schedule. You do this, you do this. You're the people that are mining this. Let's give a name to our heat resistant. I'm not going to just crib from Futurama and call it Dolomite, but that's certainly what I'm thinking of. Editor's note. I cut out just how long I spent thinking about exactly what I would call this material, but for some reason it was really important to me. Anyway, now you get to skip to the answer. Black calcite. Let's go with that. I just want some kind of name to be able to refer to it. So we have all these people working on mining black calcite. And so we implement this plan with how it's going to be transported and everything, and the size that it needs to be mined in, like we need to figure out like what's going to be, how are we going to need to process this later, and like how many pieces can it be in, what sort of size plates do we want, as a result, how slowly does it need to be done, all of these logistics. And so it's going to be a face danger with a +1 from Cypher's help. Okay, we have a weak hit, but we could turn it into a strong hit if we burn all of our momentum. If we don't, it would just be a suffer move of a -1, which could be just losing 1 momentum. So like, to a degree, I should, like, game-wise, I should just do that. It's way more worth my time. To a degree, I've got some odds stacked against me. I gotta, as far as how much I have time to do, I gotta make smart choices here. So I'm gonna keep the weak hit. We're going to lose 1 momentum as a sufferer, because again, it's not a full-on pay the price. It's just, it definitely takes some time to come up with how we're going to reconfigure this, and there is like a little bit of awkwardness along the way as of like re-implementing a different schedule. Like people get it wrong a little bit at first, all that kind of just nonsense, but we don't have to worry about getting this material anymore. Like there's going to be a steady supply coming in. Like black calcite is going to be coming in, deposited into the largely empty hangar right outside the fixery. So generally speaking, when needed, Emile's going to have the supply to be able to do this. But we need to be able to make this heat shroud. The body of this thing is the next big component that we need to be making. And to be clear, I'm not looking to make every aspect of this just, and then Emile builds this, and then Emile builds this. But there are a few key things that I think Emile does just need to build that let's try and race through a little bit more of. So it's the same thing as before, where we're going to get the opportunity to just devote a lot of time in the workshop to this next big part of the project, like modifying this into something that could be submersed in lava. So again, this is going to be a face danger where we have a +2 because we have both the workshop helping us and the gearhead. We're taking a lot of time in here, and we get... Ooh, so this one is a miss. Came close to a weak hit. And it's having 1 less momentum that means I can't do it, because the challenge dice came up 10 and 8, and I have 8 momentum. So you fail, or momentary success is undermined by a dire turn of events. Pay the price. Okay, at the very least, the clocks are going up. This took a lot, like, we're taking a lot of time making this, but we do also need to fail. I think we devote, so clocks are going up to 2 each. As a reminder, the Wooden Heart fleet is on a 4 clock, and the Imperium fleet is on a 6 clock. So we waste a lot of time thinking that we're working on this, but ultimately, I think... So what is the failure point? We have a momentary success undermined by a dire turn of events. So what is the aspect of this that fails? I think what fails is indeed that in order to get the kind of heat tolerance that we were looking for from all of the tests, it's so heavy. This thing is never going to be able to move because there's only so much power it can take with it, because the power itself would have to be kept on the inside, like inside of all of this plating. And so we have a limited kind of usage on like how quickly we'd be able to move this thing. And we determine like it's too heavy, it's too thick, it's not going to work. This is never going to be able to survive under the magma with a full covering like this. And so, as a result, I think Emile realizes that we need to pivot here. We need to start shedding weight. And there's a few ways we might be able to do that. We could try and just make the outer coating less thick, like still cover everything, but really shave it down to the point where we're really cutting down how long it can be down there. This would be on the, like if we accepted that solution, I think this is the type of thing where we're going from this can last a half hour to indeed this can last a couple of minutes. Like, it's going to take that level of removing stuff to make it tenable. And so it would have to be really quick. And a couple of minutes at a time may not be good enough. Is there a way that we could do this where we go full into, this is just going to be remote operated, and we just make a kind of a black box, like a black calcite box that keeps all the remote control stuff safe from the magma, but it wouldn't be nearly as heavy because it's not covering the whole thing. Oh no, okay, I've got it. So here's why we fail. The housing, all of that is good. That's all fireproof, and it's to weight. Like, we can carry that. Emile accommodated for all that in his calculations, but there's one thing that he forgot to account for. The drill itself. The drill itself is going to melt in the magma. Unless you coat it with black calcite as well, but if you did, it wouldn't be able to drill as effectively. And he can't square that circle. He can't find a way to get the best of both worlds. There's no way you could get the digger under the magma, but then the drill would just start deforming quickly and it would be useless. And there's no way to cover it up. So it's a big outburst. Like, this is the moment where Emile, when he realizes this, that he can't make that work, and he wasted so much time working on getting the housing working, but it doesn't even matter. I feel like he even throws something across the room in an outburst, just like a wrench or something like that, just clangs against the floor. And Firestarter is over there in the side of the room at first. It's just like, hey, come on. We started this off with the whole idea. We'd respect the workplace. Don't be throwing shit around here. I'm sorry, okay? I fucked up. Yeah, I'm sure you did. It happens sometimes. You keep moving. You fuck up again. You keep going again. You fuck up a third time, and eventually, you figure it out. That's what we do, Spencer. You keep fucking up until you have the solution. I mean, that's the whole process. That's the whole thing. It's not worth throwing shit over. He's barely even paying attention to Emile. It's so ludicrous to him, the idea of getting upset over failing. Because I think Firestarter is just a lot more used to it. He's not nearly he's barely acknowledging Emile's problem, because to him it's not worth getting frustrated over failing at something. It's just part of the job. And Emile's taking a breath. And even though it's not asked for, Emile just starts kind of unloading a little bit on Firestarter, what the problem is. He walks over closer to Firestarter station and is this whole time, been spending a week and a half on this, and it was pointless. And Firestarter is still not even fully listening, just kind of still doing some kind of calculations and stuff, figuring out what he needs to do for calibration purposes, to get this energy harness. He's got just some of the labor, the thinking parts to do before he can actually implement them in his design. And he's just yeah, the magma proofing, the calcite, it protects the body, but the whole point is we have to drill. I forgot the most important part. I feel like a fucking idiot. And Firestarter, still eyes on his work, is just it pains me to say it, Spencer, but sadly you're not an idiot. Kind of wish you were. If you were an idiot, then I could just kick you out of here and never have to deal with you again, but everybody seems to think you're actually kind of a genius. Or at least you got everybody convinced that you are. So pick yourself up, find another solution to this problem, just like I said. Go ahead, fail at that too, but there's still a way forward. You've got everybody convinced there is anyway, so prove yourself right. Think around the problem. It's what everybody says you do, so you find another way. So keep going. Pick up that damn wrench and go back to the design board and find something new to do. So you can't coat the drill in calcite. Okay, that's fine. What's something else? Does it have to be? So come on, talk it out. Why can't you coat the drill in calcite? Well, if you coat the drill in calcite, then it's not going to actually be able to function as a drill. It's not going to be a good enough cutting implement. The calcite is heat resistant, but it's not great at cutting like that. It'd be a functionless drill. But if I don't coat it in it, then the drill's not going to make it to the drill site. Why can't you have both? What are you talking about? How would it both be on there and not? Spencer, you're thinking too permanently. Have it on there sometimes, and then have a casing that opens up. You just got to get the drill over to the wall, right? Get to the spot where you need to drill. Keep the drill head intact until that point. Make full contact with the wall. He starts like sketching this out on paper. He's like drawing this diagram where he's like, and then you get to the wall here, and then, okay. And then it opens up, maintaining contact with the wall. That's right. You make a tunnel out of it, out of a housing that it unfolds into this tunnel, keeps the drill safe as the drill now connects. Okay, but it would have to be able to compress as we get closer and closer. Well, this is just a problem to solve. Come on, get back over there. You got this. Your wheels are turning. Go for it. I got shit to do around here. Yeah. No, you're right. Okay, and he like hustles back over to the desk and he gets to work. And it's this great moment where they're really helping each other out on this. Worthy, I think, of indeed, like even though we failed at it, I think I'm going to give myself another chance to develop this relationship for sharing a profound moment where he helped talk Emile kind of off the ledge, so to speak. Realize like, it's okay. You haven't wasted all the time. So I'm going to give myself 2 more boxes of progress on connecting with Firestarter. And Emile hustles back to his desk and he starts working on these schematics and everything with this idea of this sort of housing that would be able to like open up once the drill is in position, but not truly be on top of the drill and allow him to still move in and compress, and like ways to do this. He can still salvage this project and some of the work. He's just not quite there yet. But if this redesign is going to be successful, it's going to have to happen fast. These clocks are starting to fill up, and there's still a lot to be done. As for whether or not he's going to be able to pull it off, well, that's a question for next time. We're going to dive right into the prompts this week, and this time it's going to be inspired by how Emile does all of these very specific programs now. You know, we have our tech asset allowing us to get our benefit from specific complex functions, and so this week that's what I'm going to be asking you to come up with. I'm going to give you an action and a theme, and I'm going to ask you to come up with a specific program. Something that an advanced kind of supercomputer like Emile has on his person might be able to pull off. And so the action and theme are search and authority. So I want you to tell me about a complex and very specific program that utilizes the words search and authority. What does this program do? Maybe what was it originally intended for, and what can you hack it to do even more so? Like, how is it being repurposed? How can you pivot with this program? Give me all the ideas that you got on it. Send me what you have to starforgedpod@gmail.com. I'd love to see what you come up with, because I always like hearing anything from any of you. It's always great to have that moment of connection and know, like, hey, this is not just going out into the void. Somebody's hearing this. It always feels good. So, give me your ideas. I look forward to reading them, and of course, play me out, music.